Okay, so for the Battle of the Atlantic, 1940, we're going to have our year start sequence. Unfortunately, that's not on the sequence of play. I've skimmed through the other player aids. There isn't any sequence that I've seen. It is maybe it's hiding on the back of a rule book or something. I didn't check every single, and I certainly didn't look through everything in there. And it's not present in the rules either as a sequence of play. However, I think the big things are here. You have the calculation of the BRPs, the growth, and let's see, calculating the total. Unfortunately, it doesn't go into the other important thing that happens there. I mean, this is the economic section, which is the research. And that's what I wanted to kind of look at, was to see not so much, anything about any particular interest in what the order is, but making sure that I caught everything that happens, because we've got three big things that I'm aware of that happen during the year start sequence. You've got the economic calculations, you've got the research calculations, and you got the diplomacy. And it would be real nice to have a reminder of at least those, that I know that is indeed all there is. But anyway, for the particulars of this game, the research of this scenario, the research is set out on the player chart, which is, of course, backside is the player chart for the other player, which is why I'm using these charts from the Global War game, which are also backprinted on other Global War game important sheets. But there may be a way of piecing together something that works using the European game sheets for Germany and or for countries that are in Europe, and the Asian game sheets for Japan and China, if need be. Britain and the U.S. pretty much have to be, and perhaps Russia, pretty much have to be sheets from the Global War game. I think, unfortunately, France has global reach, but not much. So I think they're okay using the European map if need be. We'll see. Okay. So what we're going to have is, let's just take one side. For the Brits, they're going to have 3 points, which they can allocate among the two things before. They also have ASW tech, and they can increase their shipbuilding. Now, increasing shipbuilding would be useful. There's no question of that. And that would add, 1 box to here. And I guess you could kind of color that box. So right now we're on the 510 box, I guess. Yeah. And if I colored, now over here it's colored in, so it's the last colored box. If I colored that in over here, then we'd be on the 612 box, which, I think the research goes in directly on that, and I'd be allowed to put 1 point into each of the different places, and I'm allowed to add 1 to Glasgow and Canada. So I'd be allowed in this game to just increase this by 2 boxes over the course of a year. Now, those are research points I don't have to roll for, so they don't count against my triggering during the turn. So I don't have to worry about that. I do have to worry not to have more than 4 that I have to roll for the most part. I can invest in them for long-term gains, but it's probably not something I want to do. Now, here I have a big +6. I want to put a point into that. And I should have this set up a little differently. maybe using pencil or something. But one of my 3 points is going to go in that. I'm not going to put more because I have a pretty good chance of getting a successful roll on that. ASW Tech. I don't know what that's going to do. I think that just increases. Okay. Now I've got some things that happen automatically. Air range. In the summer I'm going to get an air range result. That affects submarines. Radar, I'll get that in the summer. So I think I got to put some kind of marker. Not that. Okay. I don't know. Maybe that should be in a different space. So stuff is happening there. Air defense is going to be spring of 43. We'll put in a marker there to remind me. I'm not going to get that far, I'm pretty sure. And then I get a choice of an ultra card. This would be the time to choose one of them. I believe the most important for me is going to be an ASW card. And likewise, for the Germans, I think the most important will be a submarine card. So we'll give them those choices. Now, these were generated by research results, but they're research results outside the scope of what the player can choose in this particular scenario. So I've got 2 more points to use. The ASW. I can get a 1 or 2 point bonus. And I believe these are completion results that indicate a success on the level. And I'd have to do a new research result. Even if I only got 1 level of that, I couldn't bump it up to 2. I definitely want to do some of that. How much of it is a good question. I think I'm going to put just 1 into ASW. The point being, I'm going to have a +1 here. I'll have a radar result. I don't already have an ASW result. Now for shipbuilding though, the problem is that's going to cost me 2 to put into place. Now that's what's weird here. Look, 1, 1, 1. Well, he can't trigger this. He has to get it here or here or something. Because it's going to cost me 2 points of tech to put into place. My extra point, I'm going to put into transport. And I don't know, does that really make sense? Do I have enough shipbuilding to cover what I've lost? I really don't. Alright, I'm going to put it into shipbuilding. I won't be able to trigger it this turn. But I think in the long run, that's more valuable to me. Anyway. Do I already have one? Is that the problem? No. Okay. And well, let's look at the Axis choices as well, since we gave them their Ultra card. They're going to get... Oh, I hope that wasn't the 39 sheet. No, 40. 40. For 40, they're going to get a point in naval, which I could take. I've already got 1 breakthrough in naval, though. So I don't know if I want to put a point in that, because that'll be my general research roll, and I'm going to need an 8 for a success. So I got to put at least a couple points in to get that. So right now I have a +1 on all my research, and I'm going to mark that here because of that naval breakthrough. Now what else can I put in? I've got DRM, I got torpedoes. Well, that sounds promising. If I get up to a 7, I get a bonus in my sub warfare. The other thing I'd be interested in is submarines adding to my force pool. For every point I put into that, I get an additional sub on the board. So that looks like a pretty good setup. I have 4 points. I'm not putting anything into DRM here. I already have 2 points of DRM. What is this? I seem to have a +2 roll. Okay. So theoretically, I already had some torpedo results that I haven't been paying attention to. I should have had a +2 on the table from what I think they're saying. Which I can't go back and fix. But yeah, I should have a couple levels of torpedo there. If that's a minus, that looks almost like a plus to me. That is a plus. Okay. I start with a result of +2 in torpedoes. So I want to put a point in torpedoes. So I'm going to put a point there, and I already have a +2. And I should be doing these in pencil because it really works better. But anyway. Which means the next time I roll, I get a +2 from the torpedoes, +1 from the points I put in here. That's why I'm only putting 1 point in. I'm putting a point in to trigger. You have to invest in a research project to ever trigger it. So that's 1 of my 4. I have 3 more points. Does investing more in Navy overall make sense? Maybe, maybe not. I kind of like the idea of throwing that all into subs because I can't start buying advanced subs yet. But the historical, putting 1 into naval, they're kind of going on the, let's get some more research result bonuses. Speed up torpedoes, advanced subs, etc. Well, let's follow their original. We had a breakthrough there. Let's do naval again with 1 and sub of 2. Now that sub of 2 is actually just increasing my force pool, and when I trigger that, I add new subs to my force pool. Shipbuilding, it works the same way. I trigger that and it adds to my shipbuilding capability. Shipbuilding has a specific restriction though, only 1 point can be added per turn. And only 1 to each of my shipbuilding places. So the Brits can increase by 2 over a course of a year. The German subs, I don't know if there's a restriction on how many subs I can produce per turn. That I would have to look at under the production projects. Which happens to be here. Okay, it looks like 1 submarine for each RP, no limits. So, yeah, I could trigger that and build those 2 subs in the first turn, and that might be a good move. On the other hand, the torpedoes improve my subs, but here's the thing. This is a force pool increase, so it doesn't require a die roll, so I can actually do both of these in the same turn. And the naval overall, I don't really need to roll that right away. The one place that doesn't get a bonus, this is the one thing that it doesn't give itself a bonus. It gives everything else under naval a bonus, but it's not going to give itself one. In fact, I don't think there are any. The only way to get a bonus is by building up your rolls. So the 1 point I put in there, well, I might get a big bonus for next year's roll. I'm not investing a lot in it, so it's okay. All right, so that sends us to the regular turn, assuming there's nothing else, and I'm pretty sure there isn't in the year start sequence that I have to worry about here. I would have to worry about diplomacy in a normal full game year start sequence, as well as the economics, which would have been done beforehand. But we don't worry about either of them here. So here we are in the beginning of the Spring 40 actual turn. And both sides get to do their research. So the Axis, officially how this would start, the Axis would say, oh, I'm going to declare, fishies. That might be their code name for submarines. That would probably be a pretty bad code name for submarines. And they have a +1 from this, and +2 for the research points they put into it. Oh, no. I'm sorry. The torpedoes. I don't roll for submarines. So they have a +1 for this, +1 for the research point, and +2 for prior results. So I've got 4 points added to my roll. And I only roll a 1, that means I have a 5. My research value goes up to +3. It's possible that I would get a roll that's worse than what I had. I still keep the previous result. I don't slip back. I don't have any tech failures there. I think it's possible in the nukes for tech failures to actually hurt your program, but I don't think they're recorded by going backwards on there directly. I think they just subtract off that value based on the failure result. And now the Allies could declare their own. Now I don't have to declare the subs. That happens during my production. That's not a research die roll. I want to get naval out of the way, so that's what I'm going to put first. I have a +6 to the die roll, and I call it whatever I call it. So I'd announce beachside, or maybe some other, whatever. Anyway, this is going to be in the general research. I've got a +6 to the die roll, which means on anything but a 1, I succeed. So I got a naval breakthrough. That uses up my point here. This becomes a B, and now I have a +1 to naval research on everything else. Now, here's what's interesting. The points that I put into subs, well, they're 1 point each, so that's not a big deal. But this +1 makes my next shipbuilding point cheaper. Okay. See, I see 2, 3 here. That's not what I expected. Maybe that's per year. What I expected to see there was the first shipbuilding expansion is $2, the second is 3, the third is 4, which would mean the ASWs start getting very, very expensive as you go. But that may be per year how much they cost rather than one turn. Uh-oh, I thought I'd figured everything out, but the fact that this stops at 2 leads me to believe that maybe I've misinterpreted that rule. A pretty common thing with a rule book this size and with my way of handling rule books is I kind of skim and find. So they say the first number listed is the RP factor of each increment added to the force pool, production continues for the 5th or subsequent increments as set out. The costs apply each year. Additions during a previous year have no effect. And I've got nothing to complain about there except my own means of trying to cope with this much information is to do a lot of skimming and try to catch things that way. I suspected there would be, well, I have suspected it wouldn't even say it, that it's just in here, well, to a maximum of 4 per year, and that's why there's no ... as opposed to some of the others. Okay. So, indeed, the costs for increasing the force pool are limited to how many force pool increases you put in per year. So the ASWs wouldn't be terribly expensive. So the shipbuilding, I put a point in. I don't know what that does me, except that that point is now incremented. So now I've got 2 points. So now I can actually trigger that and get a shipbuilding. ASW, also, I only put 1 point in. I should have put 2 in, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know. I think I put 2 in, actually. Didn't I? No, I only get 3. So there again, I had to get this result because this reduces the cost of each of these suckers. So the RPs that I put in, when I trigger them, this advantage helps me. Now, had I put in enough, you know, to guarantee that result, had I put in 2 points, that'd be kind of SOL. I'd still have a point kicking around in there. But some of these points disappear at the end of the turn. I know covert operations is one of those that does. No, I suspect it is. I seem to remember it. But I don't know if force pool additions do. They might not. And again, I don't want to look up what's not necessary, you know. You plan for something. If the plan works, fine. If it doesn't, well, you see if you're screwed. I have some serious worries I'm missing something with these pocket battleships here. The Graf Spee, for example, was destroyed in 39. The reason there's no raiding going on later is that they were contained or destroyed. There's no chance to destroy it in 39, the way I played it, which is to say that the raid was done in the fall, and then we went to port and we were fine. No Battle of the Real Plot or anything like that. No chance of it because the Allied fleet was in port when the raiding happened because of the sequence of play. The Germans go first, and then they return to port for free. There's no reason for them not to, because they can't raid until here in the fall of 40. I'm really not sure what's going on with that. And also, I don't think that there's even a way, had they stayed out at sea, that they could have been intercepted in any sense, because there's no onboard interception. And I don't think there's any interception outside of raider activities. When the raiders are actually active, they could be hit, but otherwise I don't think they can. Moving to the submarine warfare side of things, I'm not really following the sequence of play too carefully at this point, so I may make some errors, but hopefully I'm getting it right. The Germans reveal 2 sub-warfare chits. We've got 2 versus 2. We did not get our torpedo result, so we're not going to get a bonus from that. So let's see what our modifiers are. DRMs are the same. Air range results, those haven't come into play. I'm going to have to try to remember to mark those down in some way that I can recall them. No ASW result yet for the Brits. So we have the +2 here, and we got another plus. Oh, we can only go to 1 in the ultra side of things. So we only need to reveal one of these, I guess. Or maybe we have to reveal both. I don't remember if this is done secretly or not, but we only get a 1-point switch and shifted them. So now we're at +3 on the strategic warfare. And the Allies are, of course, at -3. So we'll do the Germans first. Only 2 subs out there. +3 is a 9. That's going to be 0-2. I don't remember what the results mean anymore, so I'll have to look it up. I really wish that was explained in here. Well, I'll come back with that. I don't know why I didn't catch this before. The number after the slash, and the number before the slash is eliminated in combat. The number after the slash is damaged, and we must have gotten an after the slash result before, and I recorded it as if it was a destroyed result, which caused some additional points. So I'm going to have to again modify things, and some of these ASWs are sitting in the repair box instead, whatever I lost. These were just damaged, so no, not all of them, because submarines reaching the convoy, if we're not hit, more transports were sunk. So some of those were sunk and some of them were not. I think the majority of damage that I did was here. What did I get? I got 8. Jeez, I don't remember what I changed it to. These 3 are definitely all sunk because we had no ASW hits there, but we also had no sub hits on the table. Here, the total result, that included some damage. I'm not sure how much. Something leads me to believe it was 3, but I'm not sure. So I'm going to leave these as sunk, even though that's going to screw things up. But this time, yeah, see, somehow I thought damages couldn't happen when I read this, but I don't know what. I think I've got some serious ADD issues going on with this game. But when I'm faced with the amount of frustration I've been faced with it, that's going to compound the error ratio, right? It's just the nature of me. So, I don't know what I got anymore. I got a 6, a 9. That's just 1 hit on the damage result. So that would be here. Now I got to worry about trying to keep the book open where it does not want to be open. And yeah, and I'm sure this isn't good for the binding either, but neither's leaving it open if I could balance it open. Now I've got the ASW coming back, and that's at -3 with only 2 of them available. So I get a 3 result. That's not going to hit anything. That means now I get this, which is the additional losses. So I had 3 modifiers in favor and 2 extra subs, so that's 5 more destroyed. And that's the kind of result I got back here, I think, is I would have been at, I don't remember what, but at least 2, 3 destroyed out of there. But I can't believe that I rolled. I mean, the number of damage doesn't seem appropriate to that. So I don't know where I got all those values for how many were total destroyed. I may have made something up. So we've got 3 here. Now we got to count what was available. So there were 18 available this turn. 3-1, that means surviving is A minus A plus B, that's 14 survive. 25 minus C is 11. I think that's going to generate an oil effect, right? And then 3 times A is 9. Our oil shortage is 5 points. And now we add up the points here, assuming the Brits don't accelerate anything. Now I've got to pull 3 and 1. 3 are destroyed, and then 1 is going to be waiting for repair. And that's how that should be done. The ASWs failed to have any effect. And now what do we go to? We go to German production. Well, at this point, I can trigger this sucker, and I can build myself 2 more submarines. Now, here's what's weird is they're going to go in here. Now, the Brits aren't aware of this change in force pool until I actually start deploying them, I think. Or maybe not. Who knows? Who cares? Now, my shipbuilding rate was... I decided it's the gray number which counts, but I can't look on that sheet because that doesn't... Okay. Kiel has these, but Lorient has a capacity as well. That's only for repairs, though, so I don't have to worry about that. Although, if I have damaged ships, I could throw them into Lorient. Okay. and that's already covered. So I have a capacity of 4 ships, but only a rate of 2. I'm in the spring turn, which means if I lay down any additional ships, well, wait, maybe U-boats don't count. Subs do count towards my shipbuilding capacity. So I'm going to build these suckers. They go flipped in here. I think I'm allowed to SR them even when flipped. I hope. I don't know. And we'll just pump them out there. I'm not sure I'm allowed to SR them when flipped. To not give everything negative, though, usually I harsh really hard. These are very, very stiff cards. GMT has a couple of different qualities of cards they put out. Usually I hate the stiff cards because they're not shuffleable, but these are so small that they're not really that easy to shuffle. You can't do a bridge or anything with them anyway. So I would say that the cost in, shuffleability is just about nil. They actually shuffle rather well for a normal overhand shuffle. And the advantage in terms of, well, they're very nicely slick, which actually makes them better for the overhand shuffle. And they're also sturdier than your normal cards. So overall, I'd say they're an advantage there. The first component advantage, or at least positive thing I've had to say about this game. Overall, the components are so much worse than the old Avalon Hill version of the series. All right, I'm going to look up to make sure that I can indeed SR these U-boats in there. If I can't, I couldn't have moved this one in though. So whatever. So the way it's worded, I can NR it, naval. Into the ASW box, but it remains flipped, which really has no effect because they're not doing anything during the opponent's turn. It might have had an effect, though, in the full game, because those subs in there are allowed to intercept transports that are carrying troops and such not. So the whole what's going on with this is kind of an abstraction of what would happen in the real game in a lot of ways, not just no on-board interception, but there's other factors too, like this being used directly against the transports like this. I don't think, well, I do think it's used that way, but those transports are responsible for other things than just sitting out there, and that's something we'll explore more when we look at the whole game. This is just looking at one slice of it a little differently. So I think we're done with the German side. For the Allied side, there's not a whole hell of a lot they can do. I guess all they're going to do is play with their ship capacity. And now, what are my points here? Well, I probably want to put this over here or something. They're kind of conglomerated here in the British construction, so I'm kind of doing that because I don't have to worry about where I send it. So I've got shipbuilding not increased yet. Do I want to increase it? Well, I might as well. So my shipbuilding point is gone, but I've had an increase. My shipbuilding normally would cost 2, that's down to 1. So I've got somewhere or another I gotta write, I've got +1 shipbuilding that I used there. I could have increased my production of ASWs. I don't think those are limited actually, so I think I can call on that as well. And so I can build an extra ASW too. I'm not sure. I'm run out of ones, I think. I have to use this 2 here and put this in the available builds instead. Okay, and then I figure out what my costs are on those. Now I don't have to worry about the BRP costs. And we is with the player they're involved with. My shipbuilding capacity went up from 510 to 612. I have 1, 2, 3, and some others. Do I want to advance these ships? Well, they might be important when the raids happen, but I think I'm more worried about other things. So this can be repaired. And when you repair something, you put it in the launch a certain number of turns. How are those turns determined? That's over here. So these guys are immediate on new construction. I'm sure they're immediate on repair too. See, this isn't right though. This would be the damaged level. See, this says 2 turns. A CA put out here wouldn't really be 2 turns, so maybe I'm missing something as to new construction as well. Good God. This whole naval construction chart does not make sense to me, and this is the problem. Anything new that's been added to this system, the rules written for it are shit. They don't convey anything at all. Now, that may have been the case in all the previous games as well. Like I said, I've never been a fan of Avalon Hill's rules writing, but I don't remember having this struggle. Now, it may just be me getting older, but I don't remember having this struggle with Advanced Third Reich, moving from Third Reich to Advanced Third Reich, and there were a lot of new concepts there, but I think they were more easily expressed. They didn't involve things like this chart where you put things in places based on some number of turns that don't seem to make perfect sense to me. So from what I've been seeing, you put these guys on these markers and they move forward once a year, which seems horrible, right? I mean, if you consider width, a battleship takes 2 years. Here, it takes 4, right? Or 5 for the big battleships. Pretty much all the battleships in WIF take 2 years, maybe a little less. These construction times seem immense. Now, of course, you can spend additional effort to speed that process up. So if I started here, well, I could speed it up 1, 2, 3, and well, I don't know. The first one drops it to here. Now I'm 9 months away, so it's 9 months to the next. So I think I can drop it to about 3 years from a 5-year project or something like that, which definitely, has a significant effect. I'm certainly I can't be taking 2 years off the project, so it's taking like a year off of it. But still, they seem like really, really extensive projects. On the other hand, I don't know what's going on in these projects, right? Laying down a ship in this may mean something different than laying down a ship in WIF. It may involve, I don't know what. It just may be taking a different perspective on how long it takes to build a single ship. I will look over those rules again and see if they make more sense. Because, honestly, this is what I'm hoping to find out when I'm playing this, is how does this crap work? Because I'd rather not go through all this shit in the midst of the main campaign, but man, it's really hard to get through this crap and just doing this. There's no payoff for me in terms of pleasure for all of the pain. Now, on the other hand, maybe I'll get an accurate or a more accurate playing of the main game. So let's look at what they say. Under beginning new construction, they say named ships are placed on the applicable new construction chart in the row corresponding to their size and column for that turn. Thus, a 3-factor ship laid down in spring would be placed in the 3-row in the spring column. Okay? So if I wanted to lay a 3-factor ship down, now let's see what that says to here. A 3-factor ship, they say, takes 8 turns. That would be 2 years. 1, 2. That makes sense. So then for the heavy cruiser, it would take only 2 turns, and that's why, I guess for that, if I laid one down in spring, it would show up in the fall turn. Okay. Not exactly what I expect, but okay, whatever. 4-factor ship, these guys take several years to build. They also take several shipbuilding points, but I think that's prorated over the turns. That's not some one-time cost that's ever paid from what I've looked at before. So, new construction of transports, subs, and ASWs is all immediate. They just show up. And same thing with repairs. So, the repair costs me nothing. So I get that back. I don't remember what my number was. I think it's 12 capacity, but I only have 6 points. I want to put transports and ASWs in play. That means I'm deferring these. I move the ship along the same row 1 column to the right. I've just not... Okay, let's make sure I have capacity for this. Well, now wait a minute. Not everything counts to capacity. I think these things don't. That's listed somewhere. Son of a bitch. I don't know. I don't think these counted for capacity. But I got no clue. Destroyers, CVEs, cruisers, and named ships. Okay, these are none of those. So there we have it. Now here's the problem. I think I could have taken destroyers as hits instead of these suckers. So now I gotta look that up, because somewhere in the back of my head I remember something about that, but that may only be against raiders. I don't know. I did my rules skimming thing, and I can't find anything that seems to indicate that destroyers can be thrown in as losses. It wouldn't have mattered when my raiders hit because there was nothing out here. I do remember some rule like this, but I can't find it. Anyway, I think that's where we are, and that puts us at the end of this turn. We took our shipbuilding and our ASW rolls already. And it might be worth triggering the DRM at the beginning of the next turn. I don't know what happened here. So here we have 20. By the way, that's why this number was so high. It's raiders, but I don't really recall. Oh, son of a bitch. That's going to be the naval combat table, wherever the hell that is. This crap. And, you know, I mean, much as I'm an advocate for more player aids at times, it feels like there's too many already, right? That'll be over here. Let me, yeah, these just did destroy functionality on the thing. So I think what happened was I got all my hits with raiders. There may have been one damaged factor in here that should have been taken into account instead of that I did destroyed instead. That sounds about right. I think I hit, you know, somewhere in here. So I'm not far off. So I got 25 more points here. What about this shit? Sub losses, none were lost. Axis sunk. I don't think anything bad happened here. So we got another 25 points here, and our running total goes up to 88. Now for victory for this thing, we gotta get a pretty significant amount of points over the course of the entire war. And unfortunately I'm getting tobacco resin all over this thing and it doesn't wipe off. But who cares? Alright. I think I'm gonna play one more turn. This video is long enough anyway, but one more turn and then call this. Not because, hey, it's you know, decided or anything, but more because I think I've learned what I can from it, and even worse, I think if I keep playing this, I'm going to learn some bad habits because it short circuits some of the stuff that happens in the main game. And then we'll get to the naval, the real naval game. Okay, So Axis gets to do a research. We're going to try to do the naval research. Got to find the book for that. This is actually the general naval research. I only put +1 in. I'm not going to get a breakthrough, but I want to trigger it because I have a pretty good chance of getting a bonus that'll carry over next time. You know, basically, just putting points in it is a bad payoff if you're willing to trade time. And that's what it works out as. So I got a 4, so now I have a +3 on my naval. Which probably looks funny written there on my naval. And that's the only research roll the Germans have left, so there is no problem there. The Brits have a DRM of 1 that they're going for. Now I have a +1 because I succeeded in my general research. So I'm at a total of +2. However, I lose 2 from my naval nationality DRM that's in place. So that gets me to a 0. This I may have cheated on. I may have forgotten the... In fact, I must have forgotten that. No? I think I screwed up here. Oh no, this was general research. I haven't tried a DRM roll on the Axis. Okay. So here I'm at +2. I'm hoping again to gain some bonuses for later. So a 5, that'll get me a +3. Which is a good result, but I used up my point for the turn, but I think it was a decent investment. I've dealt out the Ultra cards, and now, you know, the Germans run their subs up against the Brits. Everything's already out, so we look. And this does mean that I'm not going to get to use some of the Ultra cards like the Tactical, because we're not going to see the Raiders in play. Something allowed me to use strategic. I don't remember what. I got a sub-warfare for the Germans. Let's see if we can get this done correctly this time. DRMs cancel out. Air research level. We've hit a point of this. So the Allies have a -1 against us for this. We have not gotten a torpedo level yet. They have not gotten their ASW. Whoa, this was ASW production, not research. Okay, and that's important. I probably should be working on research, but anyway. So now I'm at -1. Make it +1 net. And we get another +1 because we have a submarine. So we have a +2 modifier. We have to remember that because that causes additional casualties. +2 modifier, we roll a 7. We've got 3 of these. We damage 2. Which we put over there. We gotta look at the number. There's only 14 available now. Is that right? I may have forgotten. I forgot to send these guys out, that's why. Sorry, I lied. Okay, so I've got 15, 18, 19, 20 out to begin with. Okay. Now, I have to do the ASW result, which is 3 coming back. What was I at? I think it was +2. I don't rightly recall. So that means we're on -2 coming back. We get a 7 minus 2 is 5. So we have damaged one of the German subs. And this can go either here or here. It really doesn't make a difference how I record it. It's flipped over and it can't come out until it's been repaired. But it doesn't really take anything to repair. They're repaired for free, just like the transports, I think. Okay, so that means I canceled out one of the subs, but there are still 3. Oh, I was at 4 subs. I probably got my number wrong. The difference between 3 and 4 is quite big. I rolled a /2. +2, I was probably here, say 6. 4 subs would have made it 1 and 1. I'm not going to change it. Screw it. I just had more subs available. But I've cheated in favor of the Germans, I think, over here, at least for 1 point. Okay, so let's see. So we have 3 subs that slipped through without being damaged. So that's 3 hits, plus another 2 for the bonuses. So I've got 5 more hits. Now, did I mark the damage down? I did not. So the damaged subs are over here in the repair box, and now 5 more are destroyed. Which means we have a surviving of 13. 13's not going to trigger an oil loss, is it? No, 13 off of that is 12. 12 triggers an oil loss. What? I never figured this out. Yeah, 12 triggers an oil loss, which is 5. Actual transports lost, that was 5, so that's worth 15. And we're going to be looking at 2732 points for this turn, assuming nothing weird happens. In terms of production, there's really nothing much I want to do here. The Germans will replenish their sub. That's for free. There's nothing else they can do in summer. I have no additional subs that I'm building or anything like that, because I have to add them to the force pool, I think. I'm trying to remember. Because I don't have to do that. See, here's the thing. I don't have to do that with ships. This is why the whole system is like, you know, it mishes and mashes together in some really like non-cohesive fashion. And this is just all over the game. So, you know, some things you have to build up the force pool, others you don't. In particular, shipbuilding things you don't have to, because the shipbuilding takes care of that. It's a very, I would much rather see something like WIF's much more cohesive production example. This is just hard to remember the different parts. And that puts us to the Brits, and they'll be doing their own production. What are they at? Well, they have an extra shipbuilding point, so they're up to 6 and 12. We're in the summer. Now, there may have been other things other than air range. Yeah, we had a radar effect too, which doesn't have an effect on, not surprisingly, on submarines. It's hard to catch them on radar. You need sonar. Okay, so what are we at? We're at the shipbuilding. So we have 6 production points of shipbuilding. These guys, like I said, don't cost anything, so I can move them into play. And then building these guys costs me 6 if I want to build them all. Now I'm in summer. I could advance one of these, or I could just push things over. I don't feel like I've got too much trouble in terms of the fleets available, but I'm gonna pump this CVL just because it's easier than making change. That puts this crap here, and then I can SR it all back out there. And I didn't obviously speed up any production or anything like that. So we get the points here, and that is 32. Again, we're not doing anything, and that brings it to 120. Now, you know, if we look at the total, obviously in 4 years at this rate, the Axis is going to win, right? Well, yeah, but this doesn't count the U.S. coming in more aggressive operations in the ASW side as they come into play. So it's hard to tell. And as the Brits manage to get enough transports and ASWs into play, that maybe they're able to actually counter things. These don't do them much at all, though, against the subs. Well, they don't do anything as far as I can tell, unless the destroyers can be taken as hits, which may or may not be a good idea. Anyway, that's where we're stopping here. I don't want to do more of this. It just, like I said, the payoff for what's being done is so little. I wouldn't mind a magazine game that was a standalone of this kind of operation too much. I would probably play through the whole thing, but it probably wouldn't see the table more than once every 5 years or whatever. These days, who knows what? Maybe once every 10, whatever. Once upon a time, I used to be able to turn things around and play through most of my games every couple of years, but that's not the case any longer. I've got more big games and so many more games in total, and more just keep flowing in all the time that I can't catch up, you know. So something like this, which really isn't that interesting to me, wouldn't come up. But, you know, if you don't have a lot of games and you're really addicted to this system, well, these littler ones do give you some opportunity to play around with something. You know, you got the Barbarossa. Hey, I got Barbarossa in with my package. And is it as good as other treatments of it? Probably not as good as like a No Retreat or something like that. But it's probably good enough, as good as like Stalingrad up here or something along those lines. So what the hell, you know? Why hunt down all kinds of older games on the subject when you can get something that's fairly reasonable out of this box? At the same time, you have this monster here, and that's the bonus of these huge games that have little subparts to them. I think this and World in Flames do a pretty good job of covering sort of that standard operational strategic type game that you could play for something like Barbarossa or for the Pacific map, as well as giving you this grand campaign. I don't think the rules to this are worth... Well, the Barbarossa campaign wasn't tough to learn. We'll see how the naval campaign alone is, or the naval game alone is. But, you know, having to cope with so much more rules to get that, I don't know if that's worthwhile, especially when World in Flames has sort of that more military focus to the scenarios that it has than this does. This, the Advanced Third Reich and A World at War are really more designed for looking at the research and the diplomacy that happens during the war. They still give you a somewhat higher level look at the military, but, you know, a pretty solid one. But it's not, you know, it's not why you choose this game. You don't choose this game to play the Barbarossa scenario particularly, right? Simply because you've got too much overhead to find what you need for it and learn what you need for it, you know, for the whole system, if that's what you're aiming for. But if this is your system of choice, there's no problem with playing those instead of something like Stalingrad. All right, let's send this up.